online. She's the Director, Research Support at Northwest University. Also, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Mathew Moyo, the Chief Director of Library Information Services at the Northwest University, and also Dr. Sabelo Chizwina, the Director responsible for Information Learning Services at the Northwest University. And then I would like to welcome each and every presenter and author of the book, and each guest that is in the room in Potchefstroom, and also all those that are attending online. And a special word of welcome to all our international colleagues who are joining online. We'd really like to extend a warm welcome to you from a cold Potchefstroom in South Africa. It's indeed my privilege and honor to be part of this book launch for the new publication, Examining Information Literacy in Academic Libraries. And as the program director, I have the privilege of guiding us through the event, not only to celebrate the book, but to celebrate each author that has contributed to this wonderful publication. And without further ado, I'm going to invite Ms. Neli Tshabalala to come forward and address us in the opening and welcome address. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege for me to welcome you, to the Ferdinand Postma Library of the Northwest University Potchefstroom campus. And thank you for joining us for this launch of our latest publication, Examining Information Literacy in Academic Libraries. I express appreciation on behalf of Library Executive Team to all that have made time to attend in person. A warm welcome also to all the contributors, that is authors and colleagues from across the 3 campuses, as well as national and international participants present online. We gather here today to celebrate the achievements of Dr. Sabelo Chizwina and Dr. Mathew Moyo as authors, editors of the publication for the sterling work that contributes to the field of information literacy discipline. The book presents a pivotal exploration into how academic libraries are essential in cultivating information literacy, a skill ever so critical in today's digital age, in particular in academic libraries. Information literacy has transcended into digital literacies to reshape the learning, research, and content discovery process. The focus is now on media literacy, data literacy, and other forms of literacies, with information literacy as an overarching domain. Therefore, this book serves as a beacon of educators, librarians, and policymakers. As we delve into the pages of this work, we'll uncover the innovative roles that librarians and educators play in shaping a future where information literacy equips learners for complexities of modern information landscapes. We are so excited to share these insights with you and look forward to the discussions and transformations that will surely follow shortly. Colleagues, I hope you feel already welcome and settled. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tshabalala, for that opening and welcome address. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Prof. Nnenesi Kgabi, who will be doing a word of support for this new publication. Prof. Nnenesi, you're welcome to open your mic and continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first apologize for my connectivity. So I'm going to need to switch off the camera so that you can hear me. Pardon me for that. Right. Yeah, it is indeed an honor to be called to give a word of support in an occasion like this one. So I would like to just recognize the program director, editors of the book, Dr. Sabelo and Dr. Mathew. Yes, it is indeed an output that you have given us. The chapter authors, this wouldn't also be come together and flow without you. So we also recognize you this morning, this evening. All guests, I covered only the morning and the evening. We forgot that in other places now it is just a good day. Why am I trying to cover this? Because we have our two editors who have taken us the whole world around and have made also the Northwest University to be a fully global institution. Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite a significant moment today that we are having here. And selfishly, I will say in the research and innovation portfolio, but then the whole institution at large, this is also quite a moment for them, because we are seeing for the first time two support directors, of course, director and chief director, indeed leading by example in an area that one wouldn't actually think that you would get them to go and collaborate with the researchers that they are supporting and also bring to the table their expertise to produce such a product. You know, it's one thing to support academia, and of course to do it from a distance without actual participation into what comes out of it. And it's another thing to be firm and to be a firm believer and implementer and to indeed make an impact in your space. I got an opportunity to browse through the book summary, and it is truly a tool that addresses crucial matters of the modern day, also academic library, because gone are the days where libraries used to be places where we go to collect books and to read, and that's it. You know, I also looked out for researchers and higher degree students through the book, just to check if LIS is prioritizing us. You know, we are research support. And guess what? I actually realized that this is quite a valuable tool. We are actually launching a tool that brings matters such as the 4IR and academic integrity and ethical decision making to the fore. It maintains a balance in the process of improving what is clearly documented in the book as the capacity of students and information consumers to seek, evaluate, and utilize the information. Ladies and gentlemen, my task is simple yet crucial. That is to assert the support that research support and the R&I portfolio as large has to this book. But let me also indicate that we do not only assert the support to this book. I'm sure you are listening, Dr. Sabelo and Dr. Mathew. We also are setting support to the many books to come, because you have set the standard. And therefore, we look to you to make sure that you keep the standard or even surpass what you have said. So the support that we are asserting also concerns matters of information sciences, academic literacy, and actually the open access movement as a whole. Books are not just tools to disseminate information. I mean, in the modern days that we are living in, books are major indicators of research and societal impact. May I pause at this point and convey gratitude to the authors and editors of this book. Indeed, in addition to the workload that they are carrying, they were able to sacrifice their time, beyond the working time to be able to work on this. So, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, it is crucial for us to recognize the editors and to recognize the authors. And I would also like to recognize the chair, because I know that multimodal learning chair has actually come on board and established most of the collaborations that didn't exist actually before they come on board. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Research and Innovation Portfolio, we would like to say thank you so much also for coming to celebrate with us. We are claiming this. This is LIS, so LIS is Research and Innovation. Thank you for celebrating with us.
I'll just repeat that, sorry, I was muted. Dr. Nnenesi, thank you so much for putting time aside to come and take part in this event. We are really excited that you are supporting this book as well, and we thank you for the time that you've spent giving it to us. Colleagues, I would like to then introduce you to Dr. Sabelo Chizwina. Sabelo Chizwina holds a Bachelor of Information Science Honours degree, a Master's in Information Sciences, a Master in Education with specialization in ICT, and a PhD in Information Sciences. He is currently employed as a director responsible for information and learning services at the Northwest University in South Africa, and he's published extensively in academic journals, has several book chapters, and has edited 2 books. And here also, as editor of this book, I'd really like to welcome him, and over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you, Doctor.
Good afternoon. I hope you are all well. I've been given the difficult task of talking about the process. I would have loved to talk about the conclusion, but not about the process. So I have to talk about how the idea of the book came along, the journey itself, and the conclusion. So in terms of the idea for the book, we're talking about how the Northwest University could contribute in terms of information literacy. One of the challenges that we identified was that in terms of information literacy, there's little that is written about pedagogy, approaches, and methodologies that are to do with information literacy. So we felt that why don't we develop a handbook of research on information literacy in academic libraries? But then the challenge about talking about research or writing about research is that the papers or the chapters will become more academic. We wanted to have that practical information shared amongst information professionals throughout the world. So the idea was to come up with a book, which is why the book was called Examining Information Literacy in Academic Libraries. It was not specific to any context. We wanted a book that would engage all practitioners of information literacy throughout the world, which is why we did not confine it to a specific continent or a specific country. And also the major inspiration was that as the Northwest University, library information services, one of our niche areas that we have identified is in the work of information literacy. So we felt that we wanted to contribute towards the discourse of information literacy. And this book was going to be the vehicle that was going to showcase what is being done, not by the Northwest University, but by the world in large. So this is how the book came about. And also the book is also linked to the information, to the conference, International Conference of Information Literacy, that will be held in Egypt in October. So what motivated us? What motivated us was to look at information literacy. Information literacy is a responsibility that is given to libraries. Libraries are expected to contribute to information literacy. And in that mandate that we are given by our community, our academic community, we at times do not know how to respond towards this mandate that we are given. So we do not have training as librarians, as facilitators, as educators. So we tend to just go with the flow, as the youth would say. But we felt that we needed to have a vehicle that will showcase how other people have been doing it in other contexts. As you know, information literacy, as I've alluded to, we are given the task to manage it, to run with it, to teach it, and to ensure that students, when they leave the university, they have the skill. So what does that entail? What do we do? And also, what are some of the best practices that other people are using in the throughout the world? So these are some of the questions that we try to grapple with, because we felt that there was a need to see what is being done, how other people are doing it, and what lessons we can learn from them going forward. So the motivation was also to also contribute towards the goal of the institution in terms of the research output. So when you look at the summary that is given on the focus of the book that the publisher says this book is written for professionals who want to highlight their understanding of the issues and debates in information literacy, including and not limited to pedagogies used in information literacy, case studies, standard and best practices in academic libraries throughout the world. So this was the description that they have described this book. This is what they have seen as the output that we have produced. Now I'm going to talk about the difficult part. Editing a book, colleagues, is not an easy journey. At times you want to give up. At times you wish that you have not started this journey because it's full of frustration. My hair became gray throughout this whole process. So now I have to use some dye. But we submitted the book proposal on the 28th of May, 2023. So we looked around and we found a publisher. Fortunately, they were impressed with our motivation. So they offered us a contract on the 16th of June, 2023 on Youth Day. So we had a double celebration on Youth Day. I don't know what Dr. Matt was having, but but we received the contract on that day and we were celebrating, but not knowing that the journey that we are embarking on is a journey that you cannot go alone. It was a journey that is full of pitfalls, that is full of tribulations, that is full of stress. So the first thing that we had to do was to look at our professional community, because we had to form an editorial advisory board. So these are the experts that were going to guide us in this particular book. So how did we then identify these experts? We went through the mailing list for the International Conference of Information Literacy Africa, which the Northwest University is leading. Then we identified some of those committee members who could be part of the editorial board. But we did not stop there. We went and looked for other professionals because we wanted to have diversity. Because when you're writing a book like this, you need to have diversity, because there's a diversity indicator that I'm going to talk about later. And you want the book to have relevance everywhere. You do not want the book to only have relevance at the Northwest University, but you want it to be relevant to as many people as possible. And also to ensure that there's a return on investment for the publisher. So the first call for chapters was issued on the 30th of June to the 3rd of August. And unfortunately, there were 5 proposals. and 2 of these proposals, we rejected them outrightly because they did not meet the scope of the book. Now, this is when the alarm bell started going to say, are we going to get to the minimum of 10 chapters that the publisher requires? Unfortunately, the second call for chapters from the 3rd of August to the 3rd of September 23, it brought about 29 proposals. These 29 proposals for the chapters were from different countries. So we had a lot of inquiries from these 29. There are also some other publishers as well, some other authors who wanted to submit, but unfortunately we had to restrict because of time. Because if you have to have time frames, because if you don't put time frames in place, you are going to take 3 to 4 years to get the book out. And the contract was saying that the book had to be released by the 29th of January 2024. That was what the contract was saying. They gave us 6 months to finish this whole process. But unfortunately, we managed to get an exception, and the book was only released on the 2nd of April. So as you can see now, we are having a lot of pressure from the publisher and also from the authors themselves who had submitted chapters for their output to be out there. Then when we also received the proposals, we thought with the wealth of the chapters, the value or the quality of the chapters, we wanted it to be open access. This is where we face the greatest challenge, and this is one of the greatest challenges that editors and authors are struggling with. We were quoted an amount of $29,500 for a book to be published as open access. We did not have those funds, and we could not get them anyway. Then the second proposal was that we would limit the number of chapters that we received. But this is a lesson. As Prof. Nnenesi indicated, that this is not our first and last book. We are going to write more, we're going to publish more, we're going to edit more in terms of information literacy. So we have learned now, this was also a learning curve for us as well, about the issues of open access, about getting a publisher that will provide support for open access, because the book needs to be read. But fortunately, we are content by the fact that most academic libraries in the world have got budgets. So this book will probably be sold to academic libraries and other libraries throughout the world. So from those 29 proposals we received, 27 were accepted and 2 were rejected. Then the chapter review process began from the 29th of August to the 25th of March 2024. As I indicated, the book should have been completed by the 29th of January, but it was only completed on the 25th of March 2024. We were pleased that we were able to get support. Colleagues, the support we received from most of the peer reviewers, most of our colleagues, most of the experts in the field was overwhelming. So all our chapters were peer reviewed. They were peer reviewed by different people. And it is very exciting that we were able to get people to assist us in this journey. And we are grateful for each and everyone who participated in this particular process. As I indicated, we had to look at also how the book was going to look like. Because as I indicated, the publishers want diversity. They want a contributor diversity. So in terms of our contributor diversity ranking, our book was indicated as it was strong. So our book, in terms of its diversity, the diversity I'm referring here to the global appeal, to the experts that are in the book, to the research from different countries, continents, and universities. So you'll find that the book is not only confined to South Africa. There are articles on Namibia, there's articles on Nigeria, from India, from the US, and other contexts. So after all this has been said and done, we had to come up now with a cover for the book. So as you can see by the cover, colleagues there, the cover, it shows that there is a person that is sitting on a number of books, right? So that represents that information literacy has always been confined, or it has always been written about, but people have been sitting on that knowledge. They have not been sharing that knowledge, which is why you see the light. If you look at the head, there's a light that is illuminating. So we wanted this book to be then visible to many people. So we wanted the book to actually represent many authors, to have different contributors, and to have an appeal to different people, which is why we did not focus only on research, but also on best practices that other people could use. So this book cover was finalized and the book was released on the 1st of April. So what are the significant parts of the book that one can look out for? So the book highlights a number of approaches shaping information literacy instruction globally. It doesn't only focus on defining information literacy. It shows how information literacy is currently being taught or presented or packaged in different contexts. If you look at the topics in that particular book, it talks about the integration of information literacy courses. It talks about the impact of disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence. It talks about how information literacy can bring about social change. There are chapters that talk about digital citizenship, that talks about indigenous knowledge preservation, and it talks about blended learning. So the topics that are in that book are diverse. They are not only focusing on one specific area, but they are covering a broad spectrum of topics to do with information literacy. So each chapter has got recommendations that one can always refer to, and the educators, policymakers, and researchers can also make use of this particular book. So it is not only limited to academia, but it is limited to a number of variety of people. What was also exciting was that we got people from different disciplines with interdisciplinary nature of information literacy. So we have chapters written from diverse experts who are also academia. Some are librarians, some are working in community libraries, some are working in, for example, in the different parts of the library, like, for example, library systems, as my colleague from CPUT is going to share how they went about developing their books. Also, Dr. Yule will talk about how information literacy is integrated in the curriculum at the University of Namibia. But these are some of the authors that we invited today. So finally, I've said too much. I'm just going to wrap up now. We would like to thank, as editors, all the contributors who provided support for this book, all the contributors that submitted their chapters, and also all the contributors that submitted proposals, but they could not meet the deadlines. We recognize that they wanted to be part of the journey, but because of unforeseen circumstances, they could not. We also hope that each and every one of you colleagues will find the book as a valuable resource to deepen your understanding of information literacy. We hope that from this book, you are able to pick up or to learn what you can then implement in your professional or in your own lifelong learning journey. We also hope that we are going to have future editions on this particular topic, not necessarily on this particular topic, but on different variations of information literacy. And we would like to have these in open access platforms. So this is where we are targeting ourselves. And also, we hope that this book will also highlight the role that the Northwest University is playing in terms of information literacy. I will stop here. I was just asked to talk about the process. So this is the process that we followed. As I indicated, that we are willing to collaborate. We are willing to share our expertise. We are willing to continue the journey with everyone or anyone that wants to be part of this particular process, because we want to make knowledge available. We also want to share what we are doing, because it is a platform. A book is a platform that is able to become a vehicle that can share a message to everyone. With those few words, colleagues, I would like to say thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you very much for attending this evening. Thank you.
Dr. Sabelo. Thank you so much for sharing your insights in the process. We know that editing a book is definitely not an easy journey, and I want to commend you and Dr. Matt on managing that journey. Well done on that. And yes, it's an extensive process to manage from the beginning to the end, starting with sending out a call, deciding what the book is going to be about, up to right at the very end. So well done on that process, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. I would then like to hand over to Dr. Matt Moyo, who is your collaborator in the editing process. We look forward to hearing from you, Dr. Matt, on the contribution to the LIS field as your experience as an editor. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to colleagues joining us online. Thank you so much, Prof. Dorothy, as Program Director. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and also to Miss Neli, my colleague here, who welcomed us to this event. I also want to thank Dina for putting up this program for us. We never thought it was going to be successful, but from the participation here, we can already acknowledge that this is a successful event. So Dina and your team, thank you so much. Prof. Nnenesi, thank you so much for your remarks. And you coming from the research and innovation portfolio, I was smiling and I said, I think if there's going to be a performance bonus this year, mine is almost guaranteed. Please convey the sentiments to the DVC. Then to Dr. Sabelo, who has also spoken about the process itself for this book. Normally, our bonus at Northwest University is given to those who go an extra mile. Dr. Sabelo has gone an extra mile and spoke about the contribution of this book to the LIS field. So thank you so much, Dr. Sabelo. But I cannot promise in terms of... Right. So Dr. Sabelo, again, if your hair turned gray, I actually suffered a double tragedy in that mine actually continued to turn gray, and I also lost some in the process. But it's part of academia. There's a lot of that. Dr. Sabelo informed us about what actually triggered this idea to go on this journey. And I want to lean more towards the conference that we host as the Northwest University. And of late also we have been joined by the University of Pretoria. So we co-hosted this conference, the ICO Africa International Conference on Information Literacy, which we host as a sister conference to the European Conference on Information Literacy. So this idea we touched a bit on the previous conference, the ICO Africa 2022, which was hosted here in Potchefstroom. And we said perhaps at this stage, a number of the exciting presentations that we had spotted during the conference had already been shared through other publications. So we then simply agreed that we are going to send a call for contributions. And this is basically what we did. But having said this, ICO Africa, as Dr. Sabelo has already indicated, is hosted again this year in Egypt. Egypt at the Library of the Alexandria, which, as we all know it, is the capital of knowledge and information. So we really hope that a lot of us here and online will be able to attend this conference. And I think we can so much say, Dr. Sabelo promised that more books are coming. We hope that the Egypt conference will actually yield our second publication in information literacy in terms of books. Literature indicates that in most countries, the high school education system sometimes produces ill-prepared learners for a demanding higher education environment. This puts into sharp focus the relevance of information literacy. Focusing more specifically on this book, which comprises, as we heard from Dr. Sabelo, 14 chapters contributed by authors from both practice and academia from around the globe. This speaks volumes about the coverage and scope of the issues covered. As editors of the book, we have no doubt that topics covered will trigger further discourse and research among readers, in addition to informing policy and practice. Some of the contributing authors are here to share their story with us. To mark the contribution of the book to the LIS field, we placed more emphasis on the following key factors. But perhaps before these key factors, I take the S on the LIS to refer to library services and also to refer to the society and the systems that we have in our libraries. And here are the key factors that informed this book. We looked at relevance and originality. The chapters address current issues, gaps in existing literature, and emerging trends, while some contributions reviewed existing literature. Other topics are informed by original research with new perspectives, which make the book very impactful. We also considered depth and breadth as a factor. The book focuses on information literacy in academic libraries with a deep analysis of the topics covered and is to some extent interdisciplinary in nature. Then we looked at methodology. We also looked at the methods adopted for the studies in order to enhance the book's credibility. I can confirm that the contributions adopted different methods such as quantitative, mixed methods, qualitative, with the latter contributing the highest number. Then we also looked at the factor of audience. The book appeals to a variety of readers, from students, practitioners, and to policymakers at various levels. Then, of course, we looked at references in terms of citations. The book cites relevant sources, and there is good evidence on engagement with the existing scholarship. Then, of course, lastly, we look at timeliness of this publication. In a world marked by dynamic changes, mostly as a result of advances in technology, there could not be a perfect time for publishing this book. The book addresses pertinent issues with bearing on teaching and learning, research, and community service. There are chapters within the book which cover areas such as artificial intelligence and teaching and learning approaches and strategies. Our next edition, like I have indicated, will certainly flow from the ISIL Africa Egypt 2024. And if you are presenting a paper there, we'll be following. But if you are not presenting a paper in Egypt, please look out for our next call for contributions, which will come out soon after the October conference. I would want to leave you with a quote. In the words of Mark Twain, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Start your journey with our book launch. As Margaret Atwood once said, in the end, we all become stories. Let our book launch become part of your story. I thank you.
Dr. Matt, thank you so much for your presentation and for the encouragement for everybody that's sitting here and in the virtual audience to get started on the next trip. And that we're certainly looking forward to that new and next publication from the two of you and from Library Information Services. Thank you very much for your presentation. Colleagues, the next section of the program will be presentations regarding chapter overviews, and we are going to now welcome some of our online participants. The first will be Mr. Selema Molopa. Mr. Selema Molopa specializes in directing and executing education, training, and development programs, and his expertise lies in empowering stakeholders, ensuring their maximum effectiveness, and significantly contributing to bridging performance gaps and achieving organizational objectives. We would then like to hand over to you, Mr. Molopa. If you are ready to present, you may go ahead, present a presentation, or open your mic to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. It is a great honor and privilege to be part of your part of the book launch. Indeed, we have been we've been working very hard as the as Dr. Sabelo has mentioned. We've been working very hard to make sure that we are able to contribute into this book. There are several processes that I would like to share with you. The overview of the book itself. I just wanted to make sure that yes. Okay, so there are several processes that I would like to share with you. The overview of the book itself, and basically the process that we have gone through in accomplishing the chapter. So the title of the chapter is Information Literacy in the Artificial Intelligence Sphere. We basically met together with my colleagues who are Kaval, Mbali, Ms. Mukale, Noktula, Nyameka, Patricia, and Younger. So this is basically a contribution of 9 people. It was quite a process, and we worked very hard towards making sure that we complete the process. The artificial intelligence in the library sphere, but also in the university in particular, we realized that we actually, in this particular process, we're going to employ artificial intelligence to help us in the development of this. This book chapter is basically a critical, systematic literature review, and it is basically a book that it's a chapter that encapsulated several subtopics in it, which were extracted basically from the systematic literature review process. So basically, the definition is the information literacy, which basically refers to the ability. I think that is the cornerstone of everything that we do, more especially when we speak about information literacy. The ability to, it's to identify, is to locate, evaluate. I think the intelligence thereof is actually dependent or defined by that. And intelligence before artificial comes is defined by the ability to identify, locate, evaluate effectively and use information. I think the artificial intelligence is actually emulating that. It's actually emulating that particular process of the ability to. Now, in a university setting, we do not necessarily have a lot of mechanisms to measure the ability. We focus on the problem solving, higher order thinking skills, not necessarily having good mechanisms to deal with the ability. And I think that's something that would be very important going forward, more especially in the era of artificial intelligence, for us to start looking at how do we make sure that we are able to impart that particular skill and of being able to do this. So in this particular context, we look at meta literacy, which basically introduces the concept of artificial intelligence and basically all other literacies that are part of the sphere of technology in general, and in particular the artificial intelligence. So meta literacy, as defined, it expands the scope of traditional information literacy by including the collaborative production and sharing of information in the digital environments. And it emphasizes the critical thinking and ethical participation in social media and other online communities. So this becomes quite important as a skill that has to be an integrated skill for information literacy skills. Critical thinking. A friend shared with us one day as we were in the project and said that critical thinking is deliberate in how it's formulated. It's critique and then think. So you critique and think. And then he said that is why chapter 2, literature review, comes before chapter 3 and 4, because you critique first others. And as when I take that idea and actually extrapolate it and escalate it, it's basically defined in the core of the core definition that actually talks to teaching, which is metacognition, the reflection, the ability to lead the reflection and reflect on what you are thinking about, and the ability to then synthesize, which is reflecting on what others are thinking about what you are thinking about. That is basically the essence of what information literacy is about. So AI has basically exploded. There's different types of AI that we find in many different places. There's and it's actually utilized in an array of applications in different industries. So artificial intelligence is now utilized to for identification. There are countries that are now having cameras which can identify everyone on the street, in the campus, and everywhere. And that gives rise to issues of ethics and a redefinition of what ethics are, considering the technologies that we have, but also the challenges that we have that basically needs to be resolved in society. The application of this in self-driving cars, the application of this in robots, autonomous robots that are able to participate in providing service within the library spaces and within the academic space, but the usage within the extraction of information within the web and basically analysis and of recent and most impactful, it's language models that are basically we are using and they are continuing to change this the landscape of education. They are influencing how we perceive what is value within education. So before we had this level of synthesis and impact, we were looking at teaching and learning, but we moved from teaching and learning, and now we are looking at research and innovation, because learning is what can always be referred to, and information may not necessarily need to be what we hold. However, what we synthesize and what we produce out of what we know or what we access is where AI and these technologies are leading us to. So this is the basically taking us back to the importance of information literacy, which are the fundamentals, the ability to identify, the ability to search, the ability to create or synthesize and be able to create out of what we have. And the ability to utilize technology to fast track and force multiply our innovation. Evaluating AI outputs, the issues around AI and the usage of AI it takes us back to the fundamentals. I'm an e-learning technology specialist. One of the projects that I have done before was to implement an e-learning project in a government setting in the rural areas. And when you implement projects of this nature, the first thing is we start to ask how many learners did this. We start to look at the finer details because computers or technology in general gives us a promise of being able to count. I think what is being highlighted by AI at the moment, what is highlighted by AI is that the issues of ethics, we have not really delved deep into them. We have not really thought through some of the mechanisms that we are utilizing. Because if somebody was going to plagiarize before AI, with AI, it's worse. It's not necessarily AI that is creating plagiarism. Plagiarism through AI, it's fast-tracked, it's force-multiplied, it's happening at a large scale. However, before AI, it was happening. So the problem, it's not necessarily the AI tool, but the problem then becomes the usage, the ethics, and what ethics is. The very, very definition of what ethics is, because ethics was there before, and it is there, it is here now. I will give an example. When a musician plays a piano, when a musician plays a piano, at the end of the concert, we do not ask which piano did he utilize. And there's a lot of musicians actually who use only one brand, and that brand must be tuned to a certain key. However, even on their music CD cover or on their website, they never say, I played this song with a Yamaha. So when we now go into the university setting, we start to have challenges where we say we want to declare the Yamaha, to say, no, I wrote this using my Yamaha. That is the fundamental argument for the redefinition or reevaluation of what we refer to as ethics and how we utilize ethics. And it's not a conclusive conversation, but a continuous conversation, fostering critical thinking, the ability to make, to turn our thoughts into ideas. So the process that we followed is this one. We had a design phase where some of the colleagues were actually part of this phase. However, some were not part of this phase. And as we continued with different phases, then we started to have different departments, for lack of better descriptions. And the project was basically coordinated. It was basically, the project is coordinated as a training program. So what this program said to be, when we saw the opportunity we actually wanted to train colleagues within the library to capacitate them with the skill of basically being able to facilitate and help students with a systematic literature. Now, then from the learning and development of the library, where I was working until last month, basically I decided that we're going to have a training workshop with an output that is real, or an output that is going to be useful. Because in that way, then the commitment of the people who are in the training or in the project then is at the next level. But also the learning that we are able to get, we will definitely will be able to share we would share with you in the next chapter. Because there's a lot that we learned. We learned a lot about the processes that we follow, collaboration. We collaborated with an international university where we got some basic training on the process of the SLR, and it was quite an interesting journey. So the process that we utilized was basically founded in the basic steps that I'm sharing with you now, which is design and then conducting the actual research, data abstraction, and structuring and writing the review. So the colleagues were actually grouped into, besides the functions, the administration of the team, but the colleagues are also part of the actual topics that are covered within this, and then they were grouped into different groups, and they worked on different topics. It was quite an intensive process. So how can you 10x your literature review like a machine? Basically, utilizing AI in the process of basically designing the process. In the process of design, where you iterate your concept against your objectives. And that process becomes much faster when you are utilizing AI tools like your ChatGPT and your an array of others that we basically have utilized. The issues of when do you cite ChatGPT when you are extracting knowledge and information from ChatGPT, and also when the concepts are from ChatGPT. When the concepts that ChatGPT is presenting to you are from other authors, that's when you actually go to the source and utilize the original source. There is a lot of different tools that we have utilized. We have enjoyed the process, and we are very much grateful of the opportunity and that we have been given by our colleagues, and the opportunity of presenting and being part of this book. And we would like to join you in the future in this kind of endeavor. And thank you very much. I can't hear. Lucas, can you please unmute?
Oh goodness, sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute, colleagues. I'm so sorry. I said, Mr. Molopa, thank you so much for the AI presentation, and I think we really found it fascinating, and there's a lot of discussions that can take place after this with regard to what you presented here today and the chapter that we look forward to reading. So thank you very much for that. We move on to our next chapter overview, which will be presented by Dr. Wilson Yule. Dr. Yule will be presenting on the inclusion of information literacy and skills course in the core curriculum at the University of Namibia. Just to introduce Dr. Yule to you, Dr. Yule is a senior lecturer in the Department of Social Sciences and a holder of a PhD in Library and Information Sciences. He's an accomplished information and knowledge management expert. His key points are in working in areas which focus on information-seeking behavior of specific user groups in the fields of agriculture, aquaculture, education, and others. So, Dr. Yule, we welcome you to the podium, and as soon as you're ready, you are welcome to share your presentation and open your mic. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Should I say also good morning and good evening, depending to wherever you are. I really feel honored to be part of this journey of producing this important monograph on information literacy, that is examining information literacy in academic libraries. Let me start by thanking the editors and also other authors who participated, as well as people who gave support so that the publication of this book materializes. I'm going to give a chapter overview, like what Madam Chair said, and this overview is for my chapter 1, which I wrote as a study, and the title is The Inclusion of Information Literacy and Skills course in the core curriculum at the University of Namibia. The areas that I'm going to touch on, I'll basically look at the introduction, the objectives, the research methodology, findings, conclusion and recommendation. In terms of this chapter, I started working on it last year when the first advert was flighted, and therefore I tried by all means to work hard and make sure that I tried to beat all the days, the deadlines which were there. So maybe what I can do probably is to start by sharing my slide here. I don't know whether I'll be able to share. No, not. I think I'm having problems sharing. Okay, can I continue just presenting without sharing, because I can't see the icon which allows me to share.
Dr. Yule, there's a share icon just next to the red button at the top. It's a little block with an arrow facing up. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Okay, I can see it, yes.
Okay, you can click on that and then you just select the screen that you'd like to share.
Let me. Right, I was. Okay.
Thank you. We see your slides. You can perhaps just put it into slide. There we go. Presentation.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Okay, on this case study that I did, basically, I first looked at the introduction, which I introduced my topic, where I was looking at the inclusion of information literacy skills. To begin with, information and knowledge are seen as critical factors in a knowledge-based society, and information literacy skills is a very important part of growing economies in this global world. So actually it enables people to know the needed information, the quality of information needed, search and locate, as well as analyze the information and being able to keep the desired information for the future use. So UNESCO actually considered information literacy as a basic human right, while the American Library Association calls it a survival skill in the information age. Of late, we have seen concepts such as information overload, information highway, and information explosion. All these concepts, terminologies, suggest that we are in the information age, and therefore we need information literacy skills. So the general understanding of words such as information society or information-based society reflected the view that the future economies are going to be driven by the amount of information and knowledge which a society or an organization or an individual possesses. The Asian tigers, that is countries such as Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan, have used information and knowledge to their advantage. And we saw their economic growth during the 1970s to 1990s, where there were double-digit economic growth. Hepworth observed that Singapore government realized that information literacy skills are important for longevity of the Singapore economy. From 2021 to 2023, the University of Namibia revamped the whole curriculum. Actually, there was a viability report which was done in which all the programs which are offered by UNAM were evaluated. And the reason for doing that was to try to streamline this program so that they can speak to the development aspirations such as Vision 2030, Harambee Prosperity Plan, and the Sustainable Development Goals. When I carried this study, I came up with the objectives of the study. And the main objective of the study was to investigate the inclusion of the information literacy skills in the core curriculum at the University of Namibia. And this was supported by the following minor objectives: to outline the importance of IL inclusion in the core curriculum at UNAM, and to investigate frameworks employed to develop and design the IL course in the core curriculum, to explain the teaching strategies employed to teach IL in the core curriculum, and to describe the expected outcomes and skills of the IL curriculum. The methodology that I adopted was a qualitative approach. Actually, I used interviews and content analysis and data collection methods, and I interviewed 3 key informants. That is, there were 2 senior coordinators, or 2 senior librarians, and 1 coordinator of the information literacy course at UNAM. I also employed desk research, and I analyzed my data thematically. Straight to the findings of the study. In terms of the importance of information literacy at the University of Namibia, the study found that the inclusion of information literacy skills course in the core curriculum cannot be overemphasized at UNAM, since the introduction of this course is in line with the university's vision and the national aspirations. Like I've alluded before, the study revealed that Namibia's vision of becoming a knowledge society requires citizens to generate, share, and make knowledge and information available to all members of the society that may be used to improve human condition. In the study, a participant mentioned that the usefulness and relevance of information literacy skills is recognized internationally for purposes of successful completion of academic study as being central to the mission of higher education institutions, of which UNAM is not an exception. So there is also a recognition of the significance of information literacy, students' employability. That is one of also the findings which was also mentioned by one participant in the study, that information literacy is important in order for increasing graduates' employability. Because nowadays you find that most institutions, or most organizations, they employ graduates or people who know how to use information, who have got information literacy skills. There was also another objective where I looked at the developing and designing of the information literacy in the core curriculum course. The findings of the study revealed that the information literacy course at UNAM is not offered as a standalone course, since it is embedded in the module known as academic literacy. This module is a core module, meaning that it is compulsory and offered in semester 1A. Sometimes here at UNAM, we refer it to semester 0, or we also correctly refer it to the core semester, where semester modules are offered. So the information literacy course is one of these courses which is offered in this semester 0. So according to Martin and Ryder, information literacy includes library literacy, media literacy, computer literacy, internet literacy, research literacy, critical thinking skills. This therefore means embedding the information literacy course with other literacy courses will foster the university student with the idea of accessing information and meeting his or her information needs. So basically, because it was envisaged that information literacy is part of the other literacies. So as a result, when planning and designing the course, later on it was discovered that it was imperative that this information literacy course should be offered as an embedded course in the academic literacy course. So the findings also revealed that the UNAM library, through the Office of the Chief Librarian, coordinates the information literacy course, and this has been the case before the course was included in the core curriculum of the university. Previously, until 2023, this IL course was offered on ad hoc basis, and the first years were encouraged to attend the course, though it was not compulsory. The study also found that with the new curriculum transformation across the UNAM-wide program, so the IL skills course being embedded in the academic literacy module, one participant reported that initially when the IL skills course was designed, the UNAM library had the impression that they were going to design a full module covering all 6 pillars of the information literacy. However, after designing the course coordinator was told that the information skills course was going to be offered as part of the academic literacy module. The embedded approach used by UNAM was in sharp contrast with what was first envisioned by university librarians at UNAM, where it was going to be a standalone. However, Salisbury argued that the reasons for and against the different approaches in terms of how the information literacy course was going to be taught need to be weighed up in terms of the appropriateness and relevance of an institution's teaching and learning agenda. So from the UNAM's perspective, it was noted that it was better to embed information literacy course into discipline content, thereby teaching information literacy skills to undergraduate students from the context of a core module such as academic literacy. Salisbury mentioned that the information literacy program provides all students with the opportunity to learn generic information literacy skills and can follow different approaches, including establishing either a credit point information literacy subject or a discipline major or a compulsory generic online tutorial for new undergraduates. The study also revealed that in the case of UNAM librarians who teach this course are provided sessions to teach information literacy topics. So the teaching strategies which were employed at UNAM or which are being employed at UNAM. The study revealed that the teaching strategies employed at UNAM to deliver IL skills in the core curriculum, they vary depending on the nature of students, whether the student is part-time, full-time, or distance. So UNAM, like many other universities in this part of Southern Africa region, employs face-to-face, online, distance, or blended teaching to deliver the information literacy skills program. Lectures, group work, practicals, and presentations are also used at UNAM to effectively deliver the information literacy skills course. The study also revealed that at UNAM, each faculty or school has a subject librarian, and it is duty of the subject librarians to teach information literacy in the core curriculum. The study also showed that the subject librarians adopt different approaches to teach this embedded course. Since it was introduced this year, I think it was introduced starting from last year. So librarians, they found this to teach this embedded course. In an interview conducted with one participant, it was noted that these subject librarians' descriptions of embedded information literacy approaches range from the common one-shot approach, where the embedded learning activity has little or incidental congruence with the subject learning outcomes. The study also revealed that the degree to which the subject librarians are attached to the information literacy curriculum varies in terms of the content and design, as well as underpinned by pedagogical theories. The subject librarians have relied their personal contact with academics to facilitate information literacy acquisition with the students. So again, the study also revealed that most librarians have been able to find their library champions through with the faculties through the introduction of this information, the literacy course. That is academics who understand the role of librarians as a partner in teaching and learning, and who are enthusiastic to work with the librarians. So what are the outcomes and skills of the IL course core curriculum at UNAM? So basically at UNAM, the learning outcomes are guided by 7 pillars of information literacy. These learning outcomes at UNAM were guided by 7 pillars of the information literacy, spelled out by SCANMO. The various levels of information literacy identified were level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, as listed on this slide. So what were the challenges first?
I'm sorry to interject. I'm going to ask you if you can wrap up. Our time is running short.
Okay, I'll do that. So the challenges which were faced, UNAM faced the challenges as far as inclusion of information literacy course in the core curriculum. A participant explained that information literacy course was initially planned as a standalone course. This meant in their preparation for the course, the information literacy lecturers, facilitators, developed a full module covering all 6 topics of the information literacy. However, when the course was introduced earlier this year, they were told that the course was going to be integrated into one module, which caused a lot of confusion. So the new changes created confusion, and the IL lecturers, facilitators, they tried to streamline and cut certain topics of information literacy in order to accommodate their lectures in 4 sessions, which were provided to them. So the other problem was that the integrated model approach employed by UNAM, according to ABSU, requires collaboration among the library, other academic departments, and administration to meet common goal of teaching information literacy skills. We appoint this approach of integrating IL with other modules was noble and acceptable, but the sudden changes has caused a lot of confusion. Students not be exposed to the practical element of IL as expected. So as a result, students who attended the IL course only came out with limited skills, since a few selected topics were taught. The other challenge faced by IL lecturers, facilitators, was that they did not have similar content to teach, which was also a bit of a challenge. I know time is running out, so I will just try to run down quickly. We also faced the problems here at UNAM in terms of the study also found that in as much as academic literacy is supposed to be a compulsory module, some students were exempted from undertaking the module according to UNAM policy and guidelines. This means that students who pass English language at school leaving level with symbols of A or B were exempted from taking academic literacy as a core module. So this meant that several students from the Faculty of Law, Humanities, and Sciences missed out the opportunity to attend the information literacy skills course. Consequently, students who lack the information literacy skills find themselves struggling and unable to cope with the needs and expectations of the information society, and particularly their studies here at UNAM. So the biggest challenge reported by one participant was the rolling out of the information literacy course at UNAM, which was not well thought out, since part-time students, distance students never benefited from it, because initially when they rolled it out, they only focused on the full-time students. So as a result, there was a gap in which was created, where graduates from the same university, depending on whether one studied full-time or part-time or distance basis, ended up having different skills in terms of appreciating IL skills in the same way. So as a conclusion, information literacy in institutions of higher education is a pivotal role, an important role, especially now when the world grapples with the challenges of fourth industrial revolution. At UNAM, the information literacy course already successes by being recognized and included in the core curriculum as a credit-bearing compulsory course. However, it still faces a number of challenges, since it is taught as an integrated approach and thus not receiving enough time and attention that it deserves. The study, however, recommended that UNAM should not leave out any registered student to participate in the IL skills course, as was seen with students who were exempted, since it is the basis of the knowledge-based economy. With that, I come to the end of my slide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Yule, and thank you for sharing insights from the context of Namibia. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on to our last presentations before our Q&A session, and I would like to welcome to the floor two colleagues, Mr. Sihle, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Blose, and Mr. Mahlaga Molepo. Sihle Blose holds a Bachelor of Information Science and Bachelor of Information Science Honours, and is a librarian at the Vaal University. And Mahlaga Molepo also holds a Master of Information Science degree from the University of Pretoria, and is currently a candidate for a Doctor of Philosophy degree and works at the University of Free State. Colleagues, I hand over to you. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. In the interest of time, we will try be as quick as possible. I think we are launching this book in a very interesting time in South Africa, where it's an era that is dominated by a lot of misinformation emanating from the election that we just recently had. So there is a whole lot of stories that are happening, and when you then put in this book in picture, you then think about that component of information literacy that requires individuals to be able to evaluate information before they can consume that information. So I would say this book is being launched in a very interesting time. Yeah. So my name is Sihle Blose, as I have already been introduced. I am with my colleague, Mahlaga, Molepo. Just a little bit of background how we came about to this chapter. I think this chapter came from a whole lot of conversation that we used to have regarding the challenges that we are facing when I was still at the University of the Free State in terms of getting an information literacy program going. And at the time when this the call came, I was working from home. I was injured in my left foot, so I could not go to work. So we had a lot of conversation on Teams together with Mahlaga that we see this call and we always have this conversation. How do we then approach it? And I think this led us to the title that you see, Information Literacy as a Prerequisite for Library Training in South African Libraries. So we thought, let's look at how information literacy is viewed in universities across South Africa. So as such, this chapter seeks, or I would rather say maybe aim to examine the extent to which IL is prioritized as a prerequisite for library training in South African universities. And we say this considering the issue of graduate attributes, considering all the other literacies that surround this component of graduate attributes. And then we then went on to say this chapter argues that IL is central to student success in the academic space, lifelong learning, and in enhancing that most important part, the skills that improve the students' employability opportunities. So in equipping students with IL skills, librarians can actively support their academic journey and foster a culture of self-reliant, lifelong, as well as lifelong learners beyond the university space. So what we wanted to see also when we started this small research project was to say how much do librarians contribute in ensuring that when students leave the university space, they have all these necessary skills that make them a full graduate that understand what they need to do when they get into the workplace environment. So in doing this research project, what we then did, we collected data from 10 strategic documents from 5 South African university libraries, and 2 of those universities were UTO, and 3 was traditional universities. We had Durban University of Technology, Northwest University, University of Limpopo, Central University of Technology, as well CPUT. So in this, looking at doing a document analysis on this 10 strategic document from this institution, we found that information literacy is seen as an important thing. However, looking across, there is no coordinated approach to information literacy in South African academic institution. And that's also led us to ask a question, what is the role of a body like LIASA in ensuring that there is a coordinated approach? So we could see that in some other institutions, they will have an information literacy that is compulsory. In some other institutions, there is an information literacy program that is not compulsory. In some other institution, it's a specific subject that has an information. So there is no real coordinated approach to make sure that information literacy is taught across the board. So to achieve this, universities in South Africa, in coordination with the academic libraries, need to find a certain mechanism that will allow for information literacy to be integrated into the curriculum across all faculties. And we also noted a lack of policy direction. This lack of policy direction undermines all efforts that are there to ensure that information literacy plays the role that it's supposed to play. My colleague Mahlaga will expand a little bit on this issue. And then just in closing, before I hand over to Mahlaga, an oversight on the role played by information literacy in student success and graduate attributes leaves library training vulnerable to fragmentation as well as unfulfilled graduate attributes. So in other words, this fragmented approach that we have, whatever that we put in as librarian, as library training, it really does not work out because all the efforts are fragmented, and in most institutions, the efforts are not compulsory. So I will now hand over to my colleague Mahlaga to continue with the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Blose. I'm not going to take long, colleagues. Good afternoon, and a word of thanks to the editors and organizers of the book launch. So in addition to the overview that Mr. Blose has just given to us, I just want to say that it's also important to link the lack of policy direction that Mr. Blose has alluded to in some university libraries to broader societal factors. And we are doing this within the South African context, of course. So in South Africa, we have an ideologically polarized political landscape. And this is evidenced by the manner in which the ruling political elite flip-flops between the idea of a developmental state and that which is dictated to by the markets, and the latter being, indicating, or rather, yes, indicating a more neoliberal posture. So we are seeing after the elections in 2024, which really bears testimony to our current situations. We're having an era of coalition talks and so on. And these factors have created a situation where there are different interpretations of where the country is going, particularly as it relates to the library information services sector. And in this particular case, we're talking specifically about information literacy. So it is rather not surprising that while the national policy for library and information services that was drafted in 2018 explicitly identifies information literacy as a crucial for national development, we have a bigger share of South African university libraries that don't acknowledge information literacy as a field of strategic value and importance. So prior to the national policy, obviously we had the Library and Information Services Transformation Charter of 2014, which identified that there are different interpretations of national imperatives amongst library and information services stakeholders. And this is a national challenge that continues to plague the library and information services sector, despite the existence of a national policy that appreciates the value of information literacy. So our chapter found that, the irregular appearance of words such as information and literacy in strategic documents that we analyzed from the universities that Mr. Blose has already identified really raises questions about the level of awareness and understanding in terms of the meaning of information literacy amongst stakeholders within the library and information services sector in South Africa. With those few words, colleagues, that's all we had for our presentation. I just want to thank once again the editors of the book for giving us an opportunity to also share and contribute our knowledge, as part of our, broader outlook into the library and information services sector in South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Just in closing, we just want to say, by empowering students to develop information literacy skills, librarians can contribute to their academic success and help that graduates become independent and successful lifelong learners. So we would like to emphasize that point, that librarians need to take up this space and engage university stakeholders to make sure that information literacy programs are compulsory. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues. We'll give our colleagues a round of applause. And we certainly look forward to reading your full chapter and reading about the intersection between library information services and graduate attributes, student success, and even lifelong learning. We really look forward to reading that further. Colleagues, that brings us to the last section of our program. The floor is now open for questions and answers. You're most welcome to raise your hands online or in the room if you would like to address a question to a specific presenter. You are most welcome now to do that.
There's just a question in the chat as well. So
right. Right, let's go to the
just
the last one. Here's a question in the chat. Perhaps we can start with that. I don't see any other hands or in the room either. How is UNAM dealing with the integration of digital literacies and information literacies? Are they only focusing on IL only? Does anybody want to address that? I guess that might be for Dr. Yule. Dr. Yule, if you'd like to
respond. Sorry, I only got the first part of the question. May I ask the question to be repeated? Because how is UNAM integrating information literacy?
How is UNAM dealing with the integration of digital literacies and information literacies? Are they only focusing on information literacies?
Like I said in my presentation, that the module academic literacy, it covers all the literacies. So this is a module which is being offered in semester 0. So in a period of 4 weeks, you would find that there will be coordinators or tutors for information literacy coming in to teach for 4 sessions. And then there will also be coordinators for digital literacy who come in again to teach for another 4 sessions, and the other literacies as well. So this is a module which integrates all the literacies.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. There's a question in the room in Potchefstroom. I'm not sure if we need a microphone for that.
No, they need to come to the front.
All right, so if you could please come to the front so that our online audience can hear the question. Just speak near to that microphone.
I just need to thank you. Thank you very much. Colleagues, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from across all countries. Once again, congratulations to the editors of the book that we are here to celebrate. Of course, without preempting their response to, them telling me to go and buy the book, I just want to ask a very simple question. And my question is, with regard to the work that we have done, Doctors Moyo and Chizwina, are there any commonalities in terms of the findings that you ultimately came to in terms of information literacy across across academic libraries? I know that the easiest answer would be please go and buy the book, but I just want to find out if there are any commonalities in terms of the findings that we have discovered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think you must go and buy the book. What was evident is that how we define information literacy seems to be the same wherever we go. What was also similar was the fact that there is no uniform way of presenting information literacy. Every context is presenting information literacy in the way that they see best. What was also evident is that we are grappling with issues of AI and how AI and information literacy intercede, and how then do we train students on AI. There are some who believe that students should not be exposed to AI. Some believe that they should be exposed to AI. There is also the issues as well as what has been referred by Mr. Molepo, Mahlaga, about the issue of standardization and also the issue of policy in terms of information literacy, which also Dr. Yule also indicated in Namibia as well, that they are also struggling with how to position information literacy. So I think in the long and short, that is the answer I can give you. But go and buy the books.
Thank you, dear colleagues. And just while we are talking about buying the book, Dina did alert me that the printed copies will be available in the library at the Northwest University soon. And should you like to purchase, then it is available on the IGI website. So please, we encourage you to go and buy the book, take it out when it is in the library and read it. Perhaps there is time for one more question. You're welcome to raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised here. And in the room, don't see any more questions, colleagues. Then that brings us to the close. If there are no more questions, no more comments. So I would then just like to say, as we draw to a close, I really just want to say thank you to each and every presenter here today, for each author that contributed to the publication, to the organizers of the event today. Thank you so much for this wonderful event. And I encourage everybody that's here and online to carry forward the insights and the inspiration that we've gained here today. And go and buy that book or take it out of the library. We really are looking forward to reading the information that's in there. Colleagues, thank you very much. I'm going to hand over for the final event, closing and the vote of thanks to Ms. Dina Mashiyane. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, everyone, and also the audience that is also joining online.
As we draw closer to the end of this event, it is my honor to extend our heartfelt thanks and to everyone who made this book launch possible, and also to the library management that actually endorsed and also approved the request that was sent forward to launch this particular book. First and foremost, our deepest gratitude to our distinguished editors, Dr. Sabelo and Dr. Mathew Moyo, and to the authors that made this book possible. If it wasn't for the authors, I don't think we would be having this book launch, or rather having an output, if I can put it that way. And just to note our speakers of the day, our heartfelt thanks also goes to Mr. Selema Molopa, Mr. Sihle Blose, Mr. Mahlaga Molepo, and Dr. Wilson Yule. We also had contributors that also joined virtually, and I would also like to thank them for their contributions as well. To our organizing team, everyone that made this book launch possible, thank you so much for all your assistance and also support in all the library events. And lastly, to all our attendees, both physically and also virtually, thank you so much for joining this event. Your presence and also your participation has made this launch a success. Your engagement and also the enthusiasm are what truly bring these discussions to life. In closing, as we conclude, let us remember that information literacy is not just about accessing information, but understanding and using it responsibly, ethically as well. And in a digital age where information is abundant and ever-changing, the ability to discern and apply knowledge is more critical than ever. Just to leave you with one of the South African proverbs, and it goes as follows: knowledge without wisdom is like water in the sand. This basically reminds us that the value of information lies not in its acquisition, but in its thoughtful application. Let us take these insights gained from today's engagement and apply them in our respective spaces. And thank you once again for being part of this event. We look forward to seeing you again and also to collaborating with you. And last but not least, we'd also like to thank you, Prof. Dorothy, for being the program director for the day. And we hope that when we extend an invitation in future, you would also accept as you did. Thank you so much. Thank you for this. Just a brief announcement for the physical colleagues and unfortunately the virtual colleagues. If you were here, you would also join in as well. But for the colleagues in the venue, as you go out at the back, you will find some refreshments there as well. Thank you so much.
There's just some comments in the chat as well.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you, colleagues, in the chat. There's just some congratulatory messages to SA librarians are definitely contributing to knowledge. Thank you. Some more congratulations. Thank you so much, colleagues, for those congratulatory messages. And with that said, I wish you a wonderful afternoon further, and goodbye to everybody.